No. We'll do it live. It. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Thing sucks.
And we welcome you in to another edition of the Daily Puck Drop, Thursday, October 24th. Kiddos, how's everybody doing? Appreciate you watching on YouTube, on Twitter /X, and of course listening on the Puck Sports mobile app. We appreciate all of it, whether you're viewing or listening to this fine program here on Thursday, October 24th. All right, what do we got coming up on the show today? We'll get in that in a quick second. Mike Garafolo is going to stop on by. We'll talk all things NFL there with Mike and his weekly visit, which, of course, is brought to you by Zogs on Fox Island, and also Hartley and Hartley Insurance. We are broadcasting from the Puck Sports Studios, built by Limback Lumber. They offer free deliveries from everything from whole house packages to homeowner DIY projects. They've got the largest stock moldings in the Northwest. Old school service. They've been doing it since 1930. Give them a call at 206-782-3487. Visit them online at limbacklumber.com. So here we go. On a Thursday, we'll talk a lot about the NFL. We've got, we're going to recap the Ernest Jones trade that happened yesterday. We'll get some previews on the Cougs and the Huskies based on our podcast that we did this week, Puck the Huskies podcast, with Elise Woodward, by the way. No Jordan Reffett this past week. Jordan was in Mexico getting drunk on the beach, for God's sake. So good for Jordan. And then we'll give you a soundbite from the Old Crimson podcast there as well. And again, Mike Garafolo coming up at around 10:20 or so. We'll do our opponent preview at 11. Get ready for the Bills coming up on Sunday. And then we end every show, of course, with Hey, What the Puck? Well, the news coming down yesterday there on the Ernest Jones trade, the acquisition there from the Tennessee Titans. And that was great. I mean, it happened literally as Jim and I were doing the show yesterday. And again, no Jim Moore today. He'll be back on, what is tomorrow? Oh, Friday. He'll be back on Friday. So no Jim Moore. And as we were doing the show, it happened right during our show. Sorry, I'm getting a phone call during the live show. I'm trying to hang up on it. And, you know, the immediate reaction, you try to react right away. You know, you remember him a little bit with the Rams. Then you take a little while longer to gather information on Ernest Jones and figure out if the trade is good, not good. I liked it immediately, just immediately from the standpoint of this about Ernest Jones, that he's not Jerome Baker. And at this point, anybody who's not Jerome Baker, I'm good. I mean, Jerome Baker just was not good. He was, I mean, look at the stats on their rushing attack, on their defensive rushing numbers. I mean, they're poor. And the two guys, the primary guys for stopping that are the guys inside. And that was Baker and Dotson. Those two are asked to stop the run. Yes, it takes the entire team and it takes the defensive line and all that. You need those guys to be healthy. But those two guys they've underperformed this year. I mean, just because Dotson here is still here doesn't mean he hasn't underperformed. So the acquisition of Jones for the 4th round pick, and, you know, we've gone back and forth on this one. Yesterday, after Jim left, you know, Rob was on, Rob Staten from Seahawks Draft Blog, draftblog.com. And I don't think that Rob was poo-pooing the deal. I don't think he was like, this is a terrible deal. I think he was maybe caught up in the draft compensation for it, a 4th round pick. I look at draft picks just like I look at the Major League Baseball prospects. I just really do not care all that much. And if you can trade away a pick to get a guy that can help you immediately, just like in baseball, now just like in football, I'm all for it. Now, we can sit back here months from now and then have the debate and the discussion that it wasn't the right move. That's fine. Or was it too much of a price to pay? Yeah, I go back to the Jamal Adams trade. I just didn't. I liked it. Yeah, no, hell, I loved the trade at the time. I did. It proved to be a bad trade. There were others that did not like it immediately when we were on the air and discussing it. and they turned out to be right and correct about it. And so let the Ernest Jones trade play out before, we have a firm opinion on whether or not it was a good deal or not. It's a 4th round pick. To me, they're going to have multiple 4th round picks. I don't think it's the biggest deal in the world. I think it is a recognition from John Schneider. It's a recognition from Mike Macdonald, but really it's John Schneider that he did not do enough, that he missed this last season in the offseason on the linebackers. He did. I mean, they went cheap. They went with a stopgap with both, and right now it hasn't worked out at all. And Jones is young. Yeah, he's under the last year of his contract. Maybe it works out. Maybe it doesn't. But if it doesn't work out, you spent a 4th round pick on him that you had an additional 4th round pick anyways. To me, it's not a big deal. But Rob yesterday, and I think the bigger picture for Rob, and in case you missed it, go watch it, listen to it, and all the platforms, they're all there. I'll give them to you again. It's on YouTube, Puck 2040 on Puck Sports on YouTube. It's on Apple, it's on Spotify. Search it wherever you find your podcasts. Just search Puck Sports. I think Rob's issue was, I hope when they make this move, I'm going to put words into his mouth. Rob, if you're listening or watching and I'm misrepresenting you, text me, please. And if they somehow win the division, that it somehow doesn't have them in this falsehood of what they are as a football team, that they still need to improve the football team in a number of areas. And I think that's what the gist of Rob's, I guess, I don't want to call it issue yesterday, but just concerns, about looking ahead where the Seahawks are.
Be that the kind of people you're building within the offensive line. It can't just be the best athlete. It's got to be the identity of the team for me. And then the other thing is, on top of that, I do think they still have to invest in, for example, quarterbacks. I don't think they can just rest easy if they, we've got Geno Smith, who's under contract for next year and be 35, and Sam Howell's still here. I want to see them start to draft and develop players and start to think about the long term while they're doing this. I don't want to see this team tread water, even if they are winning 10 games while doing it and winning a division, because I want to be great. I don't want to be good, if that makes sense.
And again, that was like a bigger picture, discussion that Rob and I were having yesterday, just about the team. I don't think for a moment that John Schneider and his front office, and I'm not saying Rob is saying this, is burying their heads in the sand to the issues that they have with their football team, because there still are issues with it. I mean, the offensive line, despite them playing better last week against Atlanta, it's still a problem, especially the interior offensive line, that they need to spend some draft capital. Well, they have spent draft capital on it. They need to be right when they spend draft capital with their offensive line. Good news this week, obviously, we're going to get to in a second with the injuries and guys coming back, but they have, under John for the last 10 years, they have failed in that department. They just have. Now, we probably are having a little bit of a different conversation had Abe Lucas never gotten hurt, because he had a great rookie season. And Cross has turned into a fine left tackle. So I think we view it a little bit differently, but the facts are the facts. He got hurt, so now it makes it look like they still not have addressed that offensive line. But, they haven't addressed center. I mean, this is a broken record. They haven't addressed the guard positions. We all know what the issues are with this football team. And the quarterback spot there as well. But where where Rob and I kind of disagreed a little bit yesterday is this. I don't think if they win the division and get in the playoffs, because that's how they're going to have to get in the playoffs, they win the division, which is just remarkable when you think about these guys. The up and down nature of this football team, after the Giants loss, I mean, my God, I think we were ready to burn these guys, myself included. And, they lose 3 in a row. You think God, these guys, they're not going to win 3 more games. They're going to go 6-11. Then they were able to right the ship, with the Atlanta win. And I still think the Atlanta win's a good win, despite what, the Falcons defense is. And the Falcons defense is not good. But they went across the country, a high-powered offense that was putting up points, and their defense was playing injured, and they came away with a huge win. I just think that's a really, really good win. So long-term, I think for the Seahawks would be if they win the division, okay, and who cares that the Rams are broken and they're all injured? Fine, that's sports. That's the way it is. The Niners, the same deal, right? Injuries everywhere. You got Debo with pneumonia. Kittle's got an ankle now. McCaffrey hasn't played. On and on and on. Ayuk's got the ACL. Well, that's just sports. Injuries happen. You got to take advantage of those injuries. I don't think at this moment we're all concerned about what the Arizona Cardinals are doing down the desert, but I also think the Cardinals are better than we may realize. And I do think they do every year will present a challenge for Seattle. But, God, the division is there now for them. Partly because, they are not as bad as they showed in that 3-game losing streak, nor are they as good as they showed in those first 3 games of the season. But now, because of all the injuries, it's kind of like the Mariners this year. It's kind of on a platter for them right now. And this is a game. Not to say it's a must. It's not a must win. I mean, the next week against the Rams would be the one. Like if you're going to split, clearly you're going to want to win the Rams game. But they got a great opportunity. Both games at home. Go to 6-3 for the bye, and then you go to San Francisco. And God, at that point, who knows what the 49ers look like? There may have 9 more injuries on that football team. So I think the accomplishment for Mike Macdonald in his first year, let's say he gets to 10 wins. They go 10-7. They win the division. Maybe they get knocked out in the first round. I'm taking that 10 times out of 10. I mean, there is zero debate on that one. Even know that they still have holes on this football team. The message that would be sent to, forget the rest of the league. Just the message that's sent inside that building that they ultimately made the right call, the message would come home. But yeah, we made the right decision, to move on from Pete. And a first-year coach with, not a ton of roster turnover, but some. It's not like Mike Macdonald didn't come into this situation with the cupboard bare. He has a lot of playmakers that were on this team when Carroll was there. All of his playmakers. So that'd be a great accomplishment there for Mike Macdonald. And so, that's what I want to see. And I think it's realistic for him. It really is when you think about it. And this is why it's like a Jekyll and Hyde football team. And that's how I feel as a fan watching these guys. Is because, God, after the Giants game and the 49ers game, I'm like, good Lord. Although if you go back and watch or listen to the shows after the Thursday night game on that Friday, I know the score it's 36-24. I thought for as bad as they played, and I think there was a lot of self-inflicted issues for Seattle on that Thursday night game, I actually thought they played okay. I really did. Thought they came back. They had a chance with under 2 minutes to go to get the ball back and win it. For as poorly as they played. Now, again, they didn't they couldn't tackle the guy on the long run, and they do still at this point have a 49ers problem. And to the 49ers credit, they were banged up then, with their running back situation, but they all their wide receivers that were in that game. But I came away from that Niners game thinking, I don't know how big the gap is. I don't think it's wide. I just think Seattle just made some boneheaded mistakes that ultimately cost them the game. I think it will be a much closer game. In fact, I'd give Seattle, based on where the Niners are at injury-wise, I give the Seahawks right now a great shot of winning that game in a few weeks. Now, after the Bills game, when we talk on Monday and they look like shit, like they did against the Giants, then maybe we'll reverse course. And that kind of feels like this team this year, right? Up and down. It's like a roller coaster. But Bills and Rams at home. Then you get the bye before you face the Niners. And you get the Cardinals at home. You got to go to New York to face the Jets. I don't think you look at the Jets. I mean, they're a mess. Everybody hates the quarterback. He hates the media. That's not a good situation in New York. And then the Cardinals. Packers game is going to be a tough one here at home. Packers, they can, offensively they can be explosive, but and then the Vikings, and then you're at Chicago. And God, you thought that Chicago game, I think earlier in the year, you're thinking, oh man, that's good. You got a rookie quarterback, new system, all that. Second to last game of the year, that should be an easy one. Now, shoot, the Bears got a top 5 defense. Caleb Williams looking good now, so that's not going to be easy. And then you finish the season there with the Rams. But I mean, 10 wins, I think certainly on the horizon here for this Seahawks football team. But I do think expectations have changed for them. And expectations have changed for them, and I think in a good way that expectations have changed because they do, with the situation with the Niners, have an opportunity to take advantage of that. And it happens all the time in sports. It's like the Mariners should have taken advantage of what happened to Houston, but they didn't. They got up 10 games, and then they just, all fell apart. I'm excited to see what Ernest Jones can do. Bunch of tackles a couple of years ago with the Rams. You look at the video of him, fast, physical. He looks like a middle linebacker. That's the thing. When I look at Dodson and Baker, they're not big. They don't look physical. They look small. This guy doesn't look small at all. This guy looks like he wants to put his nose in on the football. And they'll need it because this rush defense, something they wanted to fix in the offseason, and they were unable to do, at this point, have not been able to do so. This rush defense has got to be shored up. 28th in yards allowed, 146 yards from, Bob Condotta had this in today's Seattle Times. And then yards per attempt, 5. I mean, that's just Ernest Jones, you got to save us, buddy. You got to save us. We had mentioned the injury situation earlier, and hopefully we'll get some more information from Garafolo when he joins us here in a few moments. But Abe Lucas, George Fant both returned to practice yesterday. Fant could play Sunday against the Bills. It looks like Lucas is shooting for the 49ers game. I think that's what Mike Macdonald said. After the bye, that'd be good. I mean, I'm fingers crossed. I don't know. I mean, that would be 10 months, I think it was, since he last played. It'd be great to have him back. And then it'll be interesting to see what they would do along the offensive line. Let's say he comes back, plays right tackle. Can you, just spitballing here, can George Fant play inside? Can Mike Terrell play inside? If you don't want to continue with Anthony Bradford and Christian Haynes, I'm just curious if one of those guys could slide inside. And I thought Rob brought up a good point yesterday. When you go back and look at the Washington offensive line, Scott Huff does not have a problem with moving, quote, taller guys inside. So I don't think that's something where you're like, oh, they can't do that. That's not possible. But I don't know. I think it very much could be possible. I mean, your whole goal is to get the 5 best offensive linemen out there. Well, if Jarrell or certainly Fant would be, then get him on out there. Play guard, George. Pick it up. You're a man of many traits, my friend. Ken Walker sat out yesterday with the flu. Hopefully he comes back. Trey Brown, Pritchard, both were out with ankle injuries. Leonard Williams didn't practice, but it was just resting a veteran rest day. And then we'll have to monitor DK Metcalf. Maybe Mike will have more information on DK Metcalf. But DK Metcalf, who injured his knee there against the Falcons game, we'll have to wait and see if he's going to be able to play. If he didn't practice yesterday, doesn't practice today, maybe doesn't go tomorrow, it might be a situation where you're not going to see him there at all. But we'll find out from Garafolo here in just a quick minute or two. What else do we got here on the Seahawks? That's about it for injury-wise. We'll get to the UW and Wazoo previews coming up a little bit later. And some sound bites, one sound bite from Elise and a sound bite from the Old Crimson Podcast. I do want to touch in on Steve Ballmer later in the show. I don't know if anybody saw that last night with the Clippers. A thought or two on Lamar Jackson. And you're going to be wondering, why are you talking about Lamar Jackson? I don't know. All right. Here it's just humor me here for a quick second there on Lamar Jackson. All right. Let's get to it. He's going to join us right now. Ladies and gentlemen, don't say New York. say New Jersey. It is Mike Garafolo. Mike, how are you?
What up, dude? Oh, here they are. God.
Yeah, what are you looking for? Headphones?
Yeah, but you know what? IFB, brother.
Oh, you know what?
I need into the microphone.
See, I need to get those. I need to get rid of the big headphones.
But I thought I'd lost these, and my wife. I don't. She's not gonna remember this because, yay me. I lost a pair of these, and she's like, if you have those headphones for 366 days without losing them, I will buy you your next pair. Which I've been dedicated to not losing them, and now I've had them for probably 6-7 years, I want to say. So turns out I'm the sucker because I'm never gonna have to buy another pair.
You know what? Your propensity to lose headphones would be mine for sunglasses and Ray-Bans. I have probably had 15 to 20 pairs of Ray-Bans.
I can't believe I haven't lost these bad boys here.
Unbelievable.
I've had these for 3 months, maybe.
I'll lose them. We're going to go on a trip soon here.
Kiss them goodbye
to Mexico, and I guarantee I'm going to break them or lose them. Just guaranteed. It will happen.
Yeah.
I flushed so much goddamn money down the toilet with Ray-Bans.
I bought a pair of Roca sunglasses. Where are they? I just bought those. I custom made them from the frame to the glasses, and I got them done for golf, and I love them. So it's like I'm so locked in on where are they? Got it. So I haven't touched wood. Haven't lost. That's not right.
Last time I broke them, the stupid Ray-Bans.
Yeah.
I put them. I usually wear them like on my hat or on my head if I take them off. I had them, put them in like your shirt.
Brad, lean over.
No.
Oh.
Guy gave guy gave me a hug getting by. And too hard of a hug. Too hard of a man hug. A bro hug.
I mean,
and crushed him.
Like Schwarzenegger in his prime. I mean,
yeah. Well, this guy is a big dude. He's like looks like an offensive lineman.
Yeah, you need flabbier friends.
Well, I got plenty of those. I got plenty of those too. There's no doubt about that. All right, Mike Garafolo is here to talk all things football, not Ray-Ban sunglasses or headphones. It's all brought to you by Hartley & Hartley Insurance, your trusted family-owned insurance experts in the Puget Sound since 1978. Honesty, fairness, integrity. Contact Jamie Hartley when he's not playing golf, but he won't be playing golf for much longer because the weather's about to turn. 253-565-8700.
I played the other day. Sorry, go ahead. Finish the read.
Zogs on Fox Island. Perfect spot to grab a cold beer, hang out with friends, watch the game. Zogs on Facebook and Instagram. Check them out for their fall hours and events. You played golf the other day?
Because my schedule, I never get fall golf in, but I had an outing for my daughter's school. I mean, look at that, right? And it was like the tee box was so beautiful that I said to my partner, I'm like, take a shot.
Fall golf is the best.
He took a video too. It was my best drive of the day. I was like, usually that's the one I'm flubbing.
Yeah.
Watch the swing.
Let's see the swing. Let's put this under. Let's analyze. That's a great swing.
There's something weird on the follow through though.
On the follow through, yes, but not on the takeaway.
There's something off.
Let's see it again here. Great takeaway. Here, play it again. Takeaway's great. Good. You fold that elbow.
But I also have I hurt my trap here, so that's been affecting
That's a great looking golf swing, my friend. Beautiful. Fall golf is the best. I prefer fall golf over the summer.
I agree with you.
Best.
I agree with you.
There's less people on the course, and the weather is fine.
Yeah. I got to find a way to just. Ian and I were talking about this. Ian Rappaport and I, small guy. You may have seen him on TV.
Yeah, I've seen him. Football's find his face.
Yeah, and we're like, we got to do it. Just got to do it. Like, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay if we're not for 4 hours.
Yeah, put it away. You know what? Now, okay, hold on. Now we're gonna get to football. We're gonna cover it all. Abe Lucas, trades, all of it. But you brought up something there. Get off your phones. You guys, you newsbreakers, okay? You guys, you are paid to break news. You are paid to report on this league.
Okay.
And this league's 24/7. Like, and everything is. The NBA is 24/7. Baseball's 24/7. Like, it's like you, Rapp, Pelissero, Ken Rosenthal. You got, Schefter in the NFL, Adrian Wojnarowski, who used to be in the NBA. Now it's Shams Charania, who's taken over his job. My question is to you guys. Like, you saw Wojnarowski take a step back. He's like, I've had enough. I can't do it anymore. Like, does it ever get to a point where like, this is like too much?
Yes, it does. And I have come a long way. I was at Fox, and by the way, that not not, I've come a long way. I mean, I've come a long way because my wife has slapped me in the back of the head from time to time to get me out of my, I would live and die with this stuff. And listen, part of joining the NFL Network was knowing that Ian was there and Tom wasn't there at the time, but Tom came later, and Tom didn't initially come in as one of like an insider, no, which neither did I, but we kind of morphed into this like 3-person deal. And it's like, okay, Ian's a maniac and he's always going to be a maniac and he's wired that way. And, as I joke with him all the time, if a light bulb goes out in the house, his wife is the one that changes it anyway. So, he's kind of like, this is his lane, and he contributes. He folds laundry. We're every day we're at our meeting and he's folding laundry, and everybody, the producers always seem to be, Ian, are you folding laundry? I'm like, he does that every single meeting, guys. Just knowing that joining the network was going to allow a little bit of teamwork and Philly, like he takes, we were talking about golf. He'll go play on Tuesday and we've got it covered, dude. Like we're fully capable. Relax, take a breath. Now he's still wired that way. And then the big issue now we run into is we're all so capable that when we are all on, it's like, I got this. No, I got it. Get out. I got it. Stay. But we're so territorial.
But can you relax? But like when you go on vacation, can you relax?
Yes.
You put it away and not have it on.
I don't. Like Ian's branded himself as an insider. Adam does the same stuff. Woj was doing it that way. I'm like, I just let me come in and slap a double and knock me in. I'll score. I don't have to.
Same. You and me are the same.
I don't have to set the home run record. All right. Like the other night, I had Alvin Kamara extension. I'm good for the week.
So, but like for rap, but does he have an issue with it? Because like I look at these guys, and I was watching TV the other day, and I think it was Schefter or something. I mean, he just looked.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know about him, but Ian handles it very well.
I'm just saying he looked worn out.
Ian handles it very well. Very well. And I tell him all the time, he would go on vacation. And again, now it's a 3-way type deal because Tom came 2 years after me or 1 year after me, and sort of we all morphed into this, but it used to be early on, like he'd take a week off and he'd come back and I would, the line from Varsity Blues, I don't want your life.
Yeah. Okay? Right. Yeah. I just wouldn't
go crazy.
I don't know the amount of money. I don't.
I also, Ian won't go out and do games. I'll go out and do games. So that's right. Like, okay, hey, listen, I can't worry about the injury report for the Rams this week because I've got this Giants Steelers game and I got to lock in on this because I want the best possible stuff for that as well. I've got 4 to 5 hits on that game on Monday night, and I want you to tune in and be like, oh, okay, learned a little something that I didn't know. So you got to learn to split up your energy, and you got to learn to be a little woosah.
What's that?
That's woosah. What's that from? Woosah.
I don't know.
That's like a.
Just zen.
That's the next question. I'm gonna figure out. It's from a movie or something.
Okay, you just got to be calm. Listen, Ernest Jones. How much the trade that the Seahawks pulled off? Ernest Jones, the fourth.
Bad boys. Bad boys.
Oh,
bad boys for life. Woosah. There you go. That's where I got that from.
Good trade. You like that trade? Makes them better.
Yeah, and you texted me the other day when it first happened, and I told you. So if you share this on air and it's redundant, it's Puck's fault for using my material. They didn't. It's not like they were shopping him. Like we're getting the sense that the Rams are shopping Cooper Kupp. Like they'd love to unload the salary. Mm-hmm. It's not a shopping type situation. It's just that it was a deal that they couldn't turn down. You saw the way that they flipped. Gosh, what was it? It was what was the trade? They whatever they traded then turned into.
Oh, you're talking about when they traded with the Rams?
They took a 5th and turned it into a 4th and a player, basically. It's like that's the way that you do these things. Like Howie Roseman has always been really good at that when you kind of line it up, say, hey, they took this and made it that. So it worked out for them. It's just something that they couldn't turn down. They right now are in a tear down. They got aggressive this offseason, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. Signed Jamal Adams. I know you love Jamal Adams. They signed a bunch of guys that they thought they were going to be competitive. I was a little skeptical because of the quarterback position, and really I thought the offensive line wasn't the greatest either. And now but Bill Callahan coming in, I thought was going to help. So they were a tough team for me to read, but they felt like they could be competitive year one. Now heading into the trade deadline, they want to get some value back. So if they held on to him, they were going to extend him. It's a good trade, and it's what the Seahawks needed.
They've been active. I mean, because you pulled off the trade about 2 weeks ago, a week or two ago, for the guy out of Jacksonville. Why am I blanking on his name right now? But
what guy out of Jacksonville?
Oh, the guy, the Roy.
The Seahawks. Roy Robinson Harris. Yes,
Roy Robinson Harris. Yeah. He sounds like a Southern lawyer. Anyways, I mean, they've tried to address these guys on defense. Are they done? Are they still going to be active before November 5th?
Who, Seattle?
Yeah. Who do they got their hands in? Come on. Who do they got?
John's gonna nose around. That's what he does. So this may have been. I mean, this was a glaring hole that they felt like they needed to plug. So I'm sensing from here on out, it's going to be nosing around. If there's the right value for something, they'll jump here. But this could be the extent of what they do. And I saw they claimed. What's the guy's name they just claimed off of waivers from Baltimore because Macdonald knew him?
Oh, yeah. The linebacker. I'll get it for you.
So that's the way that you can kind of start to fill in and improve your roster wherever you can. You give John Schneider credit for, everybody's making trades now, but John was the original, not the original, but the original of this new phase of being willing to give up picks in exchange for players that the old bird in the hand rather than two in the bush. And it hasn't been perfect, but he's done a nice job of that and being aggressive over the years. I've always felt that these general managers were too protective of draft capital that wound up turning into nothing because you draft a guy and he doesn't even make the opening roster. Right. I'd much rather use it for, it's a guy in the back end of his career a lot of times, but it's a guy that we know what we've got and we know we're going to get something versus a draft pick that could wind up going for naught.
Josh Ross was the guy they claimed off waivers.
Because I saw that and I kept seeing John Ross.
That's what I thought immediately. I'm like, John Ross is still in the league, and I don't remember him playing linebacker for the Ravens.
Right.
Well, great position switch there for him. Yeah. I you're a baseball fan, and so am I. I look at that I don't know if Philly fans are like this. Mariner fans, there's a group of them that are like this. You can never trade a prospect. God, no way. Never touch a prospect. I'm like, they're prospects. Like, you have no idea if they're going to be good or not.
But baseball,
who knows?
Baseball is different because they're in the minor leagues. They're not in front of your face. They're not playing from day one. And so they're always touted to be and you're hearing this and you're seeing minor league stats.
And the highlight clips and look at them, the swing.
So baseball's a different animal. And I don't envy general managers in that league having to make tough decisions on a lot of those guys, especially when they draft
an actual physical person you're seeing,
right? And it's exactly, and they drafted him, so it's like if this guy comes to fruition. I remember years ago, Ernie Accorsi, who, if you haven't read this book right here, The GM by Tom Callahan, great book.
Okay, all right.
This was Tom Callahan in 2000. Ernie's last year was 2006. Jared Lorenzen on the cover there. Rest in peace, Jared Lorenzen. So Callahan followed Ernie for a year. He was at every game. We saw him in the press box every game. And he followed Ernie. Matter of fact, I may read this book again. This was so good. And it was basically about like the general manager's job in his last year on the job. Great book. And Ernie one time mentioned Tim Carter, who was a wide receiver who ran a 4-3 whatever. But he would get hurt every year. And he became a free agent, and Ernie said, I just can't imagine him I didn't want to watch highlights on a Sunday night and watch him making plays for another team. So they signed him for a 5th year, and he got hurt again and whatever. And he was out of the league shortly thereafter. Great guy, Tim Carter, a physical specimen, like not an ounce of fat on his body, but just couldn't stay healthy. And I guess maybe not enough. We talked about your sunglasses, not enough fat to absorb things in places, I guess. I don't know. But the Tim Carter story is funny because I remember him one day. He's sitting at his locker and he's staring across and he's watching Tim Hasselbeck eat a caramel apple, right? And Tim's eating it like it's the greatest thing he's ever eaten in his life. And he's telling him, he's like, there's sugar in that apple, and then you're adding sugar on top of that. That sugar is just turning into fat, right? And he's telling Tim Hasselbeck, and Tim's still going to town. It's like, I'm going to take another bite, and I'm going to savor this thing, almost as if he was trolling Tim Carter at the time.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, here's Tim Hasselbeck, who's like, screw it, I'm going to eat this caramel apple. And Tim Carter's like, no, I cannot put that inside my specimen of a body. Meanwhile, Tim's in the league for, 6-7 years as a backup quarterback, living the dream, married to Elizabeth, and Tim Carter's out of the league in
great
5
gig.
years. You know, it's just
Great gig. That's what sign up. Like, give me the gig. Backup quarterback that never sees the field, or punt.
Have a little fun. Have a little taste life. Everything to moderation, right?
A few weeks ago, you had kind of hinted out, hey man, keep an eye out for Abe Lucas. They could be having something.
Yeah, because you
soon.
kept asking me.
I knew. Well, I ask all the time because we want Abe. He's back. The window is open for him to return. Real quick, give a primer to everyone what this means, this 21-day window. And then Macdonald had, I guess, set a time frame for when he could be back and be playing. But for those who don't understand the 21-day window, explain.
Yeah, it's a way of ramping up, right? It's a training camp for a guy who, and a lot of times it's a guy who was in training camp and was on IR. But in this case, if you're NFI or whatever, and you miss training camp, this is your way of ramping up and getting into football shape. I saw the story. Who wrote it? I'm gonna give the guy credit. It
Bob Condota.
No, it wasn't. It was the Union Bulletin.
The Union Bulletin?
Not Union Bulletin.
They
they picked up Greg Bell's story. It was Greg Bell's story.
Go, Greg Bell.
Yeah.
Greg with 2 G's.
Yes.
You know what Greg is doing?
G's?
You know what Greg's doing? You know where he works for the Tacoma News Tribune. You know what he's doing right now?
What's that?
He's doing our radio show.
What does that mean?
He's on KJR. He's been the fill-in host.
Those who shall not be named.
Oh, that's fine. I know Greg. Greg's fine.
No, not him. I just
KJR. Oh, we'll mention that. It's fine.
You know what? You're a pretty good guy, Puck.
Yeah, I got no. That was 23 great years there. I got no issues.
Okay, good. You see,
yeah.
She was great for 23 years. That was
she was great, and then the kids left, and I said, "F you, I'm out."
It's about that time, 23 years.
Yeah, it's gonna get close soon. Yeah.
That's not my plan, honey. By the way.
I know
you're tuned into the Daily Puck.
I couldn't leave my wife. I wouldn't know what to do. I couldn't tie my shoe. Okay, yeah, so you talked about Greg Bell got picked up by I think.
Oh yes, the lead to his story was. I still read stories. People should do that.
Absolutely.
Mike Macdonald walked by Abe Lucas in the locker room and he said, "These are called shoulder pads, right?"
Yeah, it's funny.
So he's back. He gets to practice for 21 days. If you're not activated at the end of that 21 days. Which Nyheim Hines, the running back who had the ACL with the jet ski incident, was not activated. So he can't. That's it. You're done for the year.
You're done, right? So you can't play at all. Right?
But the expectation is it. And you could still activate a guy and not play him and have him practice. It's not like you got, so you could have 21 plus days. But Abe Lucas working his way back. Which has been described as a knee and a quad, because the quad goes into the knee, the quad bone connects to the knee bone. So
sing
it's
the song. Come on, do the whole thing.
No, we're good. A significant injury. And Abe, I think, hadn't spoken to the media, if I'm not mistaken, and kind of was like,
he hadn't said a word.
Yeah, but
I can't remember the last time he talked.
He finally did, and he said, hey, listen, you guys, it's a serious injury. You got to give me time to come back. Puck, that's what he said.
He's a great dude, by the way.
Yeah,
like he's one of these guys that is like,
I don't know him, but I hear that. Yes.
Oh, there's so much there beyond football. He's just one of those guys.
Nice.
Yeah, it's just very intelligent and just has a lot of like hobbies. You would look at him. He's a football player, offensive lineman, and then like he's into punk rock. I mean, he's just he's a very unique and interesting guy.
I love that, man. And you cover this league and you've got so many guys with so many different interests and so many different worldviews. And it's why, after the Ray Rice, Adrian Peters, they had that run of like off the field stuff. And that was the focus.
Yeah.
And I remember George Atala with the NFLPA, the executive director for external affairs. He one Sunday was like, you know what I'm going to do? Every time a guy scores a touchdown, I'm going to tweet out, hey, here's his charitable endeavor, right? Like just to highlight all the good things that our players do. I was like, that's a great idea. And actually, I don't know if he ever did it, but it turned into now they have their community MVP of the week where they have an award each week that they tweet out. And here's a guy here's what he did. So there are a lot of guys in this league doing a lot of great things, and they still love to smash each other's faces in between whistles, which is incredible.
It is amazing. I think Macdonald said yesterday that the idea and the hope is after the bye. So
which is when next week?
2 weeks. They got Bills, Rams, the bye, and then maybe he's ready for the Niners game, which I think is the 17th of November.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, and it's been a slow process to get to this point. So a slow ramp up wouldn't shock me either. Yeah, I mean, I'm not expecting him to play this week. So
no. What about DK? I mean, didn't practice yesterday. Doesn't sound like he's going to go today.
It's gonna be like one of the. It's gonna be a game time deal. It's close from what I gather. He's got a shot. So they got to see how he does throughout the rest of the week and how he feels on Sunday. What time's the game on Sunday? 4 my time.
4:00 your time.
It's a home game, right?
We get the A crew.
Yeah, it's a home game, right?
Yeah. Fox. We get the A crew. We get Burkhardt, Brady, and his. Well, never mind. And Aaron Andrews on the call. Well, he's got a lot of plastic surgery, man. It does not look good. Why did it? He didn't need it.
I don't know. You ever see the?
It just doesn't look good.
You ever see the actors and actresses that don't get it? They're like anti, and then people are always in their comments. Oh my God! So you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. You know what? Just let God do what He needs. I joked about this with a guy's name's Jerry Madelon. He's one of our guys at the network that helps us with our on-air stuff. And I said something about Rita Moreno one time. I said she's throwing heat at 92 or whatever, right? Still throwing heat. And every time Rita Moreno, did you see her at 80 for Brady? Did you see? I'm like, yeah, she's very natural. She just aged and there's no plastic surgery. I mean, maybe there was. I don't know. It doesn't look like it. I'm like, you can get into your 90s and still look pretty good. So.
Hey, real quick on the DK. You expect a game time? I'm sorry. It was a great line. I should have laughed. I should have.
It wasn't a great line.
It just was funny.
You weren't feeling it. That's all.
No, I had DK on my mind because I'm trying to think what.
All right.
I just want to make sure that I got what you said. Game time decision, leaning towards playing or trying to.
No. That he's got a shot. Basically, I mean, I think it's early in the week. Number one, so you honestly need to see how it plays out. As a matter of fact, in that book that I'm talking about, there's Ronnie Barnes. He does this whole chapter on Ronnie Barnes, who was the trainer for the Giants and was with Wellington Mara by his bedside as he was passing away, which the Duke is coming on NFL Network. I can't wait to see that. That'll be a great piece for everybody to see. And he's Tom Callahan's the author, and he's interviewing Ronnie, and he's talking, and then and then he had to call and tell Ernie that this player's out. He's not going to make it on Sunday. And I don't know if it was a Thursday or a Friday. It was at some point during the week. And it's like, they do make these calls throughout the week. I don't think that unless they're lying to me. I mean, it's early in the week. Number one, number two, they don't want to let me know. So I tell you, and then the other team knows, obviously. So I've dug aroround a little bit, but sounds like he legitimately does have a shot, and they legitimately don't know at this point. So they got to see how he progresses.
The Rams really, are they serious about shopping Cooper Kupp and trading him?
Yes. But I think if they win tonight, that could change everything. If they win tonight, they're in the mix in a NFC West that nobody really is running away with. Oh. And they're getting Puka back tonight. He is going to play. He's going to be limited. I do not expect him. I don't know what the number. He's not going to play 60 snaps. I don't know what the number is going to wind up being. But all of a sudden, you get him back. You start to get some of these offensive linemen that have been hurt. You get them back. And you're not that far out of a playoff spot. And okay, now they did it last year. They kind of strung a few wins together late in the season. So I remember talking to a coach who had been there before, and he said, those guys, watch those guys. They're going to go on a run. They're going to put some stuff together. And this may be the start of it. Who knows? I mean, you catch in Minnesota coming off their first loss. A lot of times you see these teams playing above their heads. They're undefeated, and all of a sudden it's like, bang, bang to kind of knock them back down a peg with back-to-back losses. So I wouldn't be surprised if they wind up taking this game tonight, and it may change their stance on Kupp.
Where did this Matt Stafford rumor to the Vikings start?
I have no idea, but it's not true. 100% it's not true. From the beginning, not true.
100% not true.
I wasn't even going to acknowledge it. Now it's kind of been asked about and put out. It's like it's not.
Yeah, I mean, it like caught wildfire.
But think about this, okay? So Matthew Stafford is not exactly prime of his career, Matthew Stafford, right? He's still a good quarterback, and I think they could still make the playoffs with him. But the way Sam Darnold is playing right now, is that much of an upgrade? No, I don't think so. And think about what you're doing now. So you've got a potential piece now in Sam Darnold, because this draft class now next year, I'm talking to evaluators. They're like, yeah, some of these guys are not, Quinn Ewers is kind of playing hurt, and Carson Beck, and this may not be the great quarterback draft class that we thought it was going to be. And so now Sam Darnold may be this big chip that you've got, and so maybe you can franchise him and trade him, that kind of deal, or potentially you let him go, he signs a big deal, and you get a comp pick back. If you trade for Matthew Stafford, you're the Vikings. Okay, trade for Matthew Stafford. Think about this. You're giving up a pick to make it happen. Okay, and you're devaluing the guy that's going to get you compensation back, whether it's again franchise and trade, or whether it's a compensatory pick, because now the teams are going to be like, well, this guy wasn't even good enough to start for them after being 6-0. We're not going to go out and so it's just completely. It
never made sense to me in the beginning. Yeah. And then I'm thinking, they got now. I mean, I understand maybe the desire to win it this year, but I'm thinking, well, they have JJ McCarthy.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. You've got yourself a guy that can bring you value back moving forward.
Yeah.
What I don't understand is how, and I don't even. I saw the account. I couldn't even find it. Who's the person that? It didn't seem like it was a reporter.
I don't know.
But where does he get his information? Who tells him that they're deep in talk? Like, regardless of whether you're asking me if there's anything there, they're definitely not deep in talks. I can tell you that. Like,
okay, 100%. Maxx Crosby.
What's up?
Is he? I mean, are there any discussions about him wanting out of Las Vegas?
I was told no chance. I was told repeatedly, multiple people, no chance.
I want Maxx Crosby here.
Well, I think the only thing that could change that is Maxx Crosby goes, look, I've done everything for this organization. I'm not. He made it clear he's not looking for a rebuild. That team needs a lot of work. It could take a couple of years. It could also be a CJ Stroud situation where maybe they do draft one of these quarterbacks and all of a sudden that guy hits and it changes everything and you're in playoff contention immediately. They're clearly at this point playing. What's up, dude? No, it's okay. You can come in. I left the door open.
Oh, yeah, come on in. Well, how are you? Do you want Maxx Crosby to Seattle?
Do you want? You didn't even know what the question was.
Well, that's what just say yes.
You wanted to know do you want Maxx Crosby in Seattle?
I have no idea what that means.
Yeah, well, neither do I. Is that a uniform? That's the school uniform.
That's your school uniform you're wearing, right? Yep.
Yeah.
Your sister didn't put hers on so easily this morning. Had a little.
I'm pro school uniforms. You want to know why? There's no guessing what to wear each day.
Yeah. They get dressed down passes.
Here you go. It's just here's the outfit.
And she's like, what am I going to wear for dress down? It's like, oh, if I had to do this every day.
Can we ask? Hold on, real quick.
What's up?
I need some advice, real quick. Hold on, what advice?
Puck needs some advice.
Are you ready? Vikings.
No, we're not going to leave the studio.
Hey, Vikings -3 tonight against the Rams.
Here. What's he asking? Go ahead.
Vikings -3 tonight against the Rams. Who do you like?
Yes, you do. What do you say?
Do you like the Vikings
Looks
or
like
the
you
Rams
said Vikings
tonight?
-3.
No.
I
like the Eagles.
She likes the Eagles. No, the Vikings are playing the Rams. Vikings
Hold
are
on.
Rams.
Hold on the Eagles. Okay, Eagles. Hey, do you think the Eagles are gonna beat the Bengals this weekend?
Ask again.
Do you like the Eagles versus the Bengals this week?
No.
No. You like Joe Burrow?
Okay.
No. I like Aaron Rodgers.
She likes Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers.
Don't hit the mute. Yeah.
Here.
She drew a picture here.
Is that Aaron Rodgers?
This is not Aaron. Mute me. This is not Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
This is Heron Rodgers.
Heron Rodgers. That looks just like him.
Yeah.
That is beautiful. That
Heron. H-A-R-E. Heron.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Viv, take your sister. Who gave you a lollipop? Mario did. Oh, Mario's a big Jets fan. Mario's Pizza around the corner. Huge Jets fan.
How many times a day do you go there? Or how many times during the week?
I mean, we keep the lights on at Mario's. What?
Marvin.
You can have a printout. Say hi to Puck. Say,
how
Puck,
are you, buddy?
He's got to go. He's got a meeting.
Hi.
Say, Daddy,
how are you?
Meeting.
Okay. Oh, you got to wrap up?
What are you doing there?
Oh, we're doing a show. What are you doing there? We Vivian get hit in the eye. Carmen hit her.
I guess so. We got an injury. We got an injury timeout.
What are you doing there?
Right. We're doing a sports radio show. Well, sports media show, not radio anymore.
You can't hear.
Sports show.
Okay. You know. All right.
You got to sign off.
I mean, you want to keep doing this?
No, this is fabulous to me. I'm all in. Hey, you got to pick one: Derrick Henry or Josh Allen.
For what?
MVP.
Oof. At this point, or am I projecting for the rest of the season?
Just projecting the rest of the season.
I want I'll go Henry. Like I'd love a non-quarterback.
You want the running back, yeah.
I guess that award winds up being most or best offensive player. But if they change the phrasing, to most outstanding player, MOP instead of MVP,
right?
Because anytime if you break it down to me, like most valuable, it's going to be a quarterback every single time. But if you change it to most outstanding player, now we can have a conversation. Then Henry's in the mix. But I just, because to me, it's like, how could you give Derrick Henry MVP if the loss would be bigger by taking away Lamar Jackson?
Yeah.
That makes it hard. I can't get to that vote.
I want him to break Dickerson's record. That's what I want. I want to see him break.
Yeah, I mean, he'll have a lock on offensive player, but MVP still difficult.
Hey, ask him real quick. What's their go-to pizza? What's their go-to pizza at Mario's? You can plug it in again. I can't hear you. We lost you. It's okay. If you can figure it out, we can. I want to know what their go-to order is at Mario's for pizza. Hey,
you hear me now?
There you go. Yeah, I got you. Hey,
hold on. Wait a second.
You're fine.
All right.
Hey, ask them what's their go-to order at Mario's.
All right. What's the go-to order at Mario's? What do you get there every time? Pizza and soup or chicken fingers. Big chicken fingers.
We all love chicken fingers. Soup. What is she like? How old is she?
She's chicken soup. That's what because they don't eat much.
Yeah, I got
these
you.
kids don't eat much. They're terrible.
I want to keep you on more because I know how annoyed you are, and it's the best. This is great. I love it. I love when the kids come in. All right, Mike. We'll talk to you next week. Bye, Carmen. Bye, Vivian.
Bye, everybody.
All
right, we're done.
I love it. I really do. I know it can be annoying, but I love it. Those kids, those two girls, God, they're just gorgeous. Great kids. All right, there he is, Mike Garafolo, all brought to you by Hartley and Hartley Insurance, your trusted family-owned insurance experts in the Puget Sound area since 1978. Honesty, fairness, integrity. Contact Jamie at 253-565-8700. Also, big thanks to Zogs on Fox Island. Perfect spot to grab a cold beer, hang out with friends, and catch the game. Check out Zogs on Facebook and Instagram for their fall hours and events. Well, some newsy stuff there. Hold on. I want to trading Crosby. I don't like that news on Crosby. I want Crosby here. But Mike did say that no chance, at least what his sources are saying from a Raiders perspective, that the Raiders, no chance that they will trade Maxx Crosby. Obviously, things can always change there on that front. I am crossing my fingers that it does change, that please, for the love of God, we could get him. Because that's what I want. I want Maxx Crosby here. And I know there was maybe some don't want him. There are other holes. I agree there are other holes on this football team. Clearly at guard, offensive line. I get that. And I know Boye Mafe's been playing better of late. And I love Boye Mafe. And Derek Hall, these guys are young and fast and aggressive. They're not Maxx Crosby. And if you could acquire Maxx Crosby for, again, I don't know what the price tag is. I'm just, whatever it is, I'm in. I don't, again, value draft picks like other people do. I don't. I mean, because who knows if that draft pick that you have, whether it's a second round pick, a third round pick, fourth round pick, like in the case of Ernest Jones, if those guys are going to be any good. Who knows? How many times have you seen a draft where a guy's picked in the third round or fourth round and they're terrible? But if you get a guy that's a proven commodity who's already been in the league and you know he's good, I'm in. I mean, there's just, I think sometimes fans, we get a lot of scar tissue with it, right? You get burned. You felt like you're burned, from trades that went poorly. And, for Seattle, I mean, yeah, there's been a lot there. It's probably a mixed bag. You look back at the Saints trade and Jimmy Graham and Max Unger and go, that was a failure. You traded a great center for a guy who wasn't a tight end. He was a big wide receiver. You know, you could make an argument that when they acquired him, he was the wrong player to acquire because they didn't allow that offense that you needed him to play in to be the offense. So I think Jimmy Graham could have been a fine player and could have worked out, but it was the scheme didn't fit him. Jamal Adams trade was a disaster, an absolute disaster. Percy Harvin, I don't know about that one. I have always it didn't come to fruition. I have a mixed bag on that one. I mean, it's not like he didn't play like he played a hand. It wasn't a major hand in the Super Bowl, but that didn't work out in your favor. But you look at the trades that did work. And I'm going to only come up with one right now, and I hate this because I know once we get off this show, you can in the chat people can volley in another one because I guarantee there's more than just this one. But look at Marshawn Lynch. It's a home run. And, that was, it's the greatest trade for John Schneider as a GM with the Seahawks, right? Unless I'm missing something else obvious. Right? I don't think I am missing. And I'm trying to think back. I'm just typing in and I'm trying to figure out what did they give up? They acquired the Seahawks got Marshawn Lynch from the Bills in exchange for a 4th-round pick and a conditional 5th-round pick in 2012. Okay, think about this. Now, I know what the reaction was by some yesterday to Ernest Jones, and I'm not trying to compare Ernest Jones to Marshawn Lynch. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying that 4th-round pick, and you acquired. Not to say that Jones is going to be the best linebacker in the history of the organization. He's not. I'm not saying that. But you acquired, and I bet you if we went back and listened to shows and commentary back in 2010, people were like, what are you doing? There's got to be some that maybe question that move, but a 4th and a 5th-round pick for that guy? You could make an argument that he's the greatest running back in the team's history. I mean, he was along with the defense, the biggest factor. He won a Super Bowl. But I just don't value them as much as other people do. I mean, the draft is fun, and it's fun to draft players, and it's fun to project and all that. I'm more about just acquiring ready talent. And that's kind of the whole thing with, just to kind of, bring the baseball world into it too. It's the same way I feel about baseball. It's great to have Colt Emerson and Cole Young. I always forget which one's Cole and Colt. Young and Emerson and all those guys. It's fun. Harry Ford, it's great. I love watching those clips of those guys tear it up in the minor leagues. I watched Harry Ford play at Everett. It's fun. It's fun to project to what the next wave of talent will look like. But if you can trade that talent, which again is unproven at certainly the biggest level for guys that have already performed, I'll do it every single time. So I don't like him saying that Maxx Crosby is not going to be traded. That sucks. But I would offer Crosby. I would offer the Raiders whatever they want. But again, that's the word there for Mike Garafolo before Vivian and Carmen busted in there on the show. Was told no chance on the Raiders trading Maxx Crosby. Obviously things could change, but just at this point told nothing is going to happen. The Matt Stafford trade rumors, wherever that started, which is great. I don't know who started it, but it's funny how many legs it has now. He said 100% not true. Never was from the beginning there, Garafolo. He expects this isn't anything breaking. I think it's fairly obvious, but just to give it some, more news on DK Metcalf. Expects DK Metcalf to be a game time decision. And I think it's, him not practicing yesterday, likely not practicing today. And if he doesn't go on Friday, he will be a game time decision. But again, just newsworthy that from those who he talks to inside the Seahawks facility, he's trying every effort to go, that it's getting close is what he said. And it's just because he doesn't practice today and just because he doesn't practice tomorrow doesn't mean like all of a sudden he's out. He's one of those rare, and I think even Macdonald said this, he's one of those rare athletes and rare players. How much practice time does DK Metcalf actually really need? Probably not all that much. And then just, the more information there on Abe Lucas, what Garafolo is hearing, kind of that same timeline that thinking about getting ready for that Niners game, which would just be awesome. I hope he gets back on the field. Like we said it to Mike there, he is one. He doesn't do a lot of interviews. In fact, him talking yesterday, I don't know when the last time he's talked. Certainly not. He hasn't talked since the injury. But having, interviewed him before, I talked to him before, especially when he was at Wazoo, he is just one of the more unique. And when people say unique, oh, is he odd? No, he's just, I don't know. He's just like a normal guy. But he just has a lot more going on in his life than just football. It's not like he thinks football 24/7. It's football, football, football. He's just an engaging guy that you sit back and have a beer and a drink with, and he can kind of rap about anything. And he's a good dude. Overall, great guy is Abe Lucas. So I think we're all pulling for him to get back on the football field fast and as soon as he can, but obviously healthy. You don't want him to rush back to the point where you're like, oh God, he injures himself even more. So if he can be ready for that Niners game, and we talked about it earlier in the show, if he's ready for that Niners game and what's in store for this team right now, who knows what happens in the next few weeks. I mean, this 2-game stretch before they get to that bye week, if they can somehow take out the Bills, we're going to get to the opponent preview here in a quick second, take out the Bills, and then beat the Rams, especially if the Rams lose tonight to the Vikings, because if they lose tonight, that they're done. And then now are you talking about, are we trading guys, or what are we looking at? What's the future of the team? They're kind of a broken squad. But both games at home, they need to start owning the home field. They need to turn that place into the home field advantage it once was. But God, if they could get to 6-3 before that bye, who knows where they would go after that? 6-3 after 9 games, quick math, you got 8 games remaining. The sky's the limit for what these guys could potentially do. In the first year there of Mike Macdonald, but it's gonna be kind of fascinating to kind of watch these guys and see where they go from here. But the injury news up front for them appears to be getting better. All right, we're gonna get to the opponent preview here in just a quick second. I do want to kind of preview the Cougs and the Huskies before we get to our opponent preview. The Cougs, of course, are taking on San Diego State coming up on Saturday night. Again, it's another game where I'm going to miss because we've got the Inner Bay Eagles that are going to be playing coming up on Saturday night at 6:00 against Cedar Park Christian. We're coming for you, Cedar Park Christian. The Cougs and Aztecs again coming up on Saturday night. One of the things that we talked about this week on the Old Crimson Podcast with myself, Jim Moore, Paul Sorensen used to play football there, Jamie Vinnick, who covers the team for CougFan.com, and it's, can they run the table? Again, it's not the hardest schedule remaining, but can they run the table in the final portion of the season?
Probably a sizable favorite in all 5 of the games. I'm just wondering, what you think. You're out there every day covering the team. Do you think we've got a good shot at winning all 5?
I mean, I think yes. I think they absolutely, have a very good shot at winning all 5. I think, as we also all know, college football is weird. And, the favorite team doesn't always win. And I think it'll be very hard for them to win all 5 games just in the nature of college football. But I think they absolutely have a shot. I think there is no complacency. I think you felt that around the team just in terms of the way they've talked, just in terms of the actual game action. I think that's what hurt them last year. I think they went 4-0. They started reading their own news headlines, and then suddenly you look up and you're 4-6, and then suddenly you're 5-7. Mm-hmm. So I think that there is still a drive and a fire behind this team that maybe there wasn't at times last year.
And Jamie's right. That's Jamie Vinnick from CougFan.com. Paul Sorensen's the old guy with the white hair. And of course, the go-to guy. Can they run the table? Of course they can. I said this early. I said this, I think 2 weeks ago. I do feel just you gotta bear with me. All right. Sometimes I'm glass half empty. I sometimes am the worst. I expect them to lose a game. I do believe it's out there for them to drop one of these, 5 remaining games. Just because I think it's not to be negative. It's just that defensively at times, they aren't the best. and they have holes on their defense, and you have significant holes on your defense, and if your offense isn't clicking that day, you drop a game. And it could happen this week. San Diego State, it's a night game. You got a lot of family and friends. A lot of these kids are from California, down in that area. There could be distractions. San Diego State's not lighting the world on fire, especially offensively. They got a freshman quarterback. They have one running back. They're not dynamic. They're not like the old San Diego State, teams of the past. So, they're heavy favorites. They should get it. They'll get Utah State at home coming up on November 9th. Utah State is not good. I think it was Paul or somebody had mentioned New Mexico. That would be the game. I mean, they're 3-4 in the Mountain West. You look at what they've done, this year in terms of their schedule. Lost to Montana State. They were drilled by Arizona. Did put up 39 against Arizona. They put up 19 against Auburn, 21 against Fresno State. But again, it's an unfamiliar environment. I mean, I think the game that most people will circle will be the game in Corvallis. I think if they're going to drop a game in the 5, the remaining 5 that's left on their schedule, in Corvallis. Because the Oregon State, despite kind of their up and down shoddy play at quarterback, they do one thing: they run the football. They've got 2 running backs, and they pound it. Washington State, has yet to this point of the season been able to stop the run. They just haven't been able to do it. So I think that Oregon State would be the game that they probably would lose. But I do think in the last 5, maybe they won't be favorites at Oregon State, but they would be favored in the rest of those games. But the other thing to keep in mind real quick, and I'm going to get to the Huskies in a second, San Diego State, Utah State, New Mexico, Wyoming, Mountain West schools. And let's see, who's coming with us? San Diego State's coming, Utah State's coming. But they want to prove something still, but so does New Mexico and so does Wyoming. Hey, why'd you leave us behind? You shouldn't have left us behind. And I think people use that certainly there as motivation. All right. I mentioned earlier on the Puck the Huskies podcast, it is available right now on podcast platforms, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, pucksports.com, wherever you find your podcasts. No Jordan Reffett this week. He's in Mexico getting drunk. Good for Jordan, by the way. That guy deserves a vacation when he's got 19 kids, for crying out loud. So it was just Elise and I sprung some news on Elise on the latest Puck the Huskies podcast.
Who?
Mike Gastineau. Who the guest picker is?
Who?
Mike Gastineau. The gas man.
I love it. Oh my God. I was like, who? I don't even know. I haven't heard. Oh, the gas man's going to be out there, and I might swing by the tailgate and say hi. Just,
He's drunk and obnoxious like usual, probably.
I'm sure. I mean, nobody's more excited for this Indiana run than the gas man. You know that.
He should be. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. He's going to be texting me. I guarantee.
During the game, you're working, and your phone's just buzzing nonstop. So Lisa and I on the Puck the Huskies podcast came out last night. And again, go check it out. Apple, Spotify, all your podcast platforms. The video up on YouTube. Just Lisa and I breaking down. Quick, some thoughts on Iowa. Thoughts on Midwest football. And we kind of disagreed on this one. It just seems like the one thing that I get a little envious of where Washington is at right now and Oregon are going to these Midwest football environments because they just look so much better than anything, for the most part, that we get on a weekly basis here on the West Coast. There are obviously some exceptions. Listen, when Martin Stadium is packed and there's a good opponent, it's awesome. Even though it's a smaller stadium, but it's awesome. Eugene is great. Washington is great as well for a college football environment. Utah, other than that, Corvallis can be great too as well. But there's just not a lot of them. USC's not good. UCLA's not good. The Arizona schools aren't good. Boulder can be great, but you look at what Iowa was like and what Indiana's going to be like this weekend. They're just they feel more invested into the product, don't they? That's what it feels like to me. Indiana will pose a challenge for them. The backup quarterbacks, Tavon Jackson, and I told this to Elise, she better use it when they go down on the sideline report. She said she was going to use it. But he is there is a Cougar connection for this game on Saturday. So if you have obviously Cougar fans, we want them to lose. There's another rooting interest because the quarterback, Tavon Jackson is the son of Ray Jackson, who was a great defensive back for the Cougs in the 90s. War number 2. Number 1 in your program, number 2 in your hearts. No, wait. I got that wrong. Number 2 in your program, number 1 in your hearts. Someone's been drinking this morning. So, again, he gets the start because works out with the thumb injury. Another 9 a.m. kickoff. We talked about the 9 a.m. kickoffs, and both Elise and I agreed. I brought it up. You can't complain about the kickoffs. You just can't, because this is what all of these schools signed up for. And at the end of the day, you're going to get more money anyways, but you can't complain about the start times. No, they were never, ever, ever going to give any of the West Coast schools premier start times, especially when you're struggling. And they're struggling there right now. Again, also the Cougs Corner with Dean Janikowski. I've mentioned this before. I'm going to mention again. It's a broken record. I think it's the best one we've ever done, not because of anything I did. It's because of him. He took a shot at me because he says it looks like you're living in a college dorm. I agree, because I took a shot at him on Twitter. It's a long story, but go back, watch it. Dean Janikowski and myself on Cougs Corner. Big thanks again to the great sponsors of Cougs Corner and Old Crimson. Of course, Flat Stick Pub, and then, of course, the Cougar Collective. Go donate to the Cougar Collective, please. CougarCollective.org. Join the 1890 Club. And big thanks to Georgetown Brewery, who brings you Puck the Huskies podcast every single week. And we got some big news coming up with Georgetown, I would say within 2 weeks. Old Georgetown. Big news that you, the beer consumer, are going to love. You are just going to love what they got cooking up. All right, we got to get to opponent preview. I'll save the Divish stuff for later. I should mention real quick on the Cougs, they are getting closer to finalizing their football schedule. If you saw the news yesterday, I think this is what they should have done this year, but they didn't. They'll be playing Oregon State twice, home and away. I love it. It's a great idea. And the Cougs, they need 2 more opponents, but they got a sneaky good schedule next year. Yeah, I'll take it. They'll open up the season with Idaho at home. They get the Aztecs on September 6th. They travel to North Texas on September 13th. Then the Apple Cup, which this will be now the time, September 20th. They get Washington at home. Then September 27th, they go to Virginia. Enter Sandman. Inside joke for anyone who gets them. October 11th, they'll be at Ole Miss. They'll come back home on October 25th against the Toledo Rockets. November 1st at Oregon State. November 15th at home against Louisiana Tech. And then November 29th to wrap up the season against Oregon State. So they need 2 more games. They got 4 open dates. Those dates are October 4th, the 18th, and November 8th, and I'm missing one. There's another open date, and I'm missing what that open date is. But they've got 4 of them, and they need to fill 2 more spots. Most likely going to fill another road game there coming up soon. All right, opponent recap is coming, but I got to play this. Did you all see Steve Ballmer last night? The Clippers opened up their brand new arena, and it's just like I think I read. They have a video board that it's an acre. That's how big this thing is. He's also created this thing, and Kevin Durant, it worked for him because Kevin Durant ended up missing 2 free throws late in the game. This wall, it's behind one of the baskets, and they wanted to create this like home environment. Ballmer wanted to create this environment, which was like college basketball. So if you sit behind the baskets called the wall, you have to be this like deranged, unhinged super fan for the Clippers. And he wanted to make it like college basketball. And I think the rules are you can never sit down or something like that. But anyways, this guy's a lunatic. And I mean that in a great way, is Steve Ballmer. But in case you missed it last night, I mean, look at this guy. What a lunatic. He is a nutball. But you know what I love about Steve Ballmer? That's what you want. That's what you want in an owner. You want a guy, I mean, maybe he can probably go over the board a little bit. That guy wants to win. He shows you that he wants to win. He'll do whatever it takes to win because that's what he wants. He just wants to win. God, wouldn't you love that? And he's out in front. For me, Steve Ballmer, and I get envious and jealous and mad that he didn't stick it out here with Seattle, but ultimately I get it. He wanted the team, and what could have been of him being the primary owner of the Sonics, back in the day with Chris Hansen. And it just sucks it didn't happen. It didn't work out because that's what you want. You want a guy that's engaged. You want a guy that's a billionaire, like stupid money billionaire, that there's no expense too much for him. He'll do whatever he can in his power to build a winner. And that's what being an owner should be, because you owe it to the fans. You owe it to the community to be like that. I think it's why many of us are very critical of Mariners ownership, because they don't do that. They don't act like that. God, you get jealous, don't you, a little bit? You get jealous, you get envious that he's not, because he's ours. He's ours. He's not LA's. He's a Seattle product. And he's running the Clippers. He should be running the Sonics. Hell, he should be running the Mariners, for God's sakes. All right, let's get to the opponent preview before we get to Hey, What the Puck there at the end. Opponent preview, of course, you know what's going on. Opponent preview brought to you by, Georgetown Brewery. And again, they got something special coming up. I'm telling you, in a couple of weeks, you're going to love it. You are going to love it. It's going to be real tasty. Opponent preview, again, brought to you by Georgetown Brewery. Who are the Bills? How do you stop Josh Allen, the Amari Cooper addition, all that? Well, they're 5-2. The losses just to the Ravens and the Houston Texans. They won their last two games. Narrowly got by the Jets by 3, 23-20. They hammered the Titans 34-19. That was the first game that they had Amari Cooper, who they traded with the Cleveland Browns. I mean, it all starts and ends with Josh Allen. And I will always remember watching Josh Allen play at Wyoming one time, when there was all this hype about Josh Allen. And oh my God, this guy's going to be great. But he plays at Wyoming, small school, Mountain West. They're going to play Oregon. I remember watching that Oregon game, and he was terrible that day. It was awful. I want to say, fact check me on this one. I want to say he completed like 35% of his passes. It was like really, really bad. And Oregon hammered him. And I'm thinking, God, what's all this hype about this guy? Well, that's why you're not paid big money like these other guys are, you idiot, because he has turned out to be, one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League. And right now, along with Derrick Henry, is one of, the favorites to win the MVP. He's got nearly 1,500 yards this season. He's completed 63% of his passes. What is remarkable right now about Josh Allen, 12 touchdowns, not a single interception for Josh Allen. Not one. And he's been a guy that's been known to throw the ball away and throw the ball into the other hands of the defense. And he's always a threat to run, third leading rusher on the team. The rushing attack is kind of a two-headed monster. It's not dynamic. James Cook's the lead running back, averages just a little over 4 yards a carry. He's yet to be over 100 yards this season. Most carries in a game is 20. His backup is Ray Davis. Ray Davis a couple of weeks ago against the Jets was good, 20 carries, 97 yards. This is going to be an offense that's going to try and move the ball up and down the field through the air. And their wide receiver core got better with the addition of Amari Cooper, one of the more refined route runners in the NFL. Team him up with the rookie out of Florida State, Keon Coleman. Coleman's a threat deep. I mean, he hasn't quite had the impact maybe that a lot of people thought he was going to have, but he's still averaging over 20 yards of reception in the passing game. And with the addition last week and the first game with Cooper coming over in that trade with the Browns, I mean, you saw the immediate impact that made for Keon Coleman. He had 7 targets in that game. He had 4 receptions, 125 yards. Make an argument that was his best game that he's had since they had another guy to maybe take some pressure off of Coleman. And then the other guy you got to worry about is Khalil Shakir. Number 10. He's going to be a guy that's going to work in the slot. They're going to move him all around. He's a problem over the middle. Good route runner. Looks like a faster, more physical, like Tyler Lockett out there. Sure-handed wide receiver. He had 7 catches, 65 yards last week. The amazing thing about him, he's been targeted 28 times this season by Josh Allen, 27 receptions. That's pretty good. And then, of course, with the addition of Cooper, whose first game again last week against the Titans, that went after him 5 times. He had 4 catches, a little over 60 yards in that game, and he had his touchdown. So, and then you throw in Dalton Kincaid, because this team's always got to have some big white tight end. And they've got him in Dalton Kincaid, and he's going to be a problem. Nearly 300 yards there on the receiving end. Offensively, offensively and defensively, it's interesting because they're top 10 in points in both categories, but then you look at the total yards and you're like, well, they're not even middle of the pack. They're lower. They're lower than middle of the pack. But offensively, they rank in 5th in points at almost 29 points a game. But total yards are 18th, 321 yards of total offense. Defensively, top 10, again in points given up. Under 20 a game, 19 points, 19.4 to be specific. But total yards, 20th, 342 yards. What they do, what Seattle did last week and what Seattle needs to get better at is takeaways. The Buffalo Bills will take away the football. They got 12 takeaways on the season. And as we mentioned before with Josh Allen not turning the ball over, Josh Allen, they have a plus 10 turnover differential. Number 1 in the NFL. So, key to the game. I don't know. Hold on. Wait for this groundbreaking analysis. Don't turn the ball over. How about that? Guys, you can't get this anywhere else. You really can't. I mean, this is the type of stuff only you can get here. But Josh Allen, it starts there. They got to get him. We'll see what the impact of Ernest Jones, the 4th, can be and stopping that running game. But again, they're going to try and spread them out. We'll see where Woolen's at, where Brown is at, where Pritchard is at, to see what they do defensively, again, with Kobe Bryant back there at safety. But I think the Bills they're going to want to air it out, and they're going to want to attack this secondary. And can they get enough pressure on Josh Allen? And when they do get in there, can they bring this man down? Because he is a load. I mean, you know, when the football god created a quarterback, I think there's 2 guys he created. He created John Elway, and then he created this guy. And this guy is like a Terminator, steroid, bigger, and I'm not saying he uses steroids, bigger version than John Elway. And how John Elway did not get him when he was running the Broncos at the time is probably his greatest miss. But that's what he is. And he is just a absolute freak with a howitzer, good leader, just plays hard and plays tough. And again, that's why he's in the early conversations there for the NFL MVP, along with Derrick Henry. I had tweeted this out earlier about why I was looking at 40-yard times. And I'm like, why am I looking at 40-yard dash times? I was trying to find what Derrick Henry did at the combine, and also to see what Eric Dickerson did, because Derrick Henry, as you all know, Henry is close to, or he's on pace to break Eric Dickerson's record for yards in a season. He's on pace for that right now, which would be, you know, that record has been since 1984. That's been going on. I honestly, the way that the NFL has been going, pass heavy and all that, I never thought we would see really anyone come close to that record. And Eric Dickerson is one of the more beautiful running backs that this league, and might be the most beautiful running back this league has ever seen. Derrick Henry reminds me a lot, if you're old enough, I don't know about you, Derrick Henry reminds me a lot of Eric Dickerson in a way. Big, tall, cut high, you know, beautiful looking athlete. And so I wanted to compare the two just in terms of their 40-yard times. But when you start looking at the size, I mean, and Eric Dickerson, even for back in the day, was huge. You know, he was a bigger running back. And it made it look bigger with the shoulder pads too back then. He was 6'3", 220. Derrick Henry's almost 30 pounds heavier than him. And I would guess, and I might be wrong because I couldn't find their times. I would say that he's probably equally as fast as Dickerson. He is 6'3", 200 and almost 50 pounds, 247 pounds. Derrick Henry, unbelievable what he can do. Just a mammoth, physical beast is Henry. Just a great running back. So, and I'm with Garafolo. We talked about it before Carmen and Vivian came in and broke us up, that I'd love to see a non-quarterback win it. It's always just, it feels like it's a quarterback award every single year. So I'd love to see Derrick Henry pull that off. And really, it's something I wanted to get to. I'm pulling for Lamar Jackson this year. I'm pulling for the Ravens. And it has nothing to do with I have like Mahomes or Chiefs fatigue. I don't. I like storylines where guys, go through the ringer and they struggle to win the big games, or they struggle to get past someone, and they're good guys. Like Lamar Jackson's a good guy. He doesn't get in trouble. He comes across as a great teammate and a good leader. People have doubted him. They doubted him coming out of college. They've doubted him in the NFL. They doubt him in the playoffs. Can't win in the playoffs because he doesn't throw from the pocket. He has never had this in his backfield. And this will be, the biggest difference for Lamar Jackson. So I'm polling for Lamar Jackson. Like if the Seahawks aren't getting to the Super Bowl and winning the whole thing, which I don't think is going to happen, I'm pulling for Lamar to be the guy, because he has that label right now as the guy that can't win the big one. All right. He's 2-4 in the playoffs. He's completed under 60% of his passes in the playoffs, 57, 6 touchdowns, 6 picks. I mean, he's been dominated in the playoffs, but he's never had Derrick Henry. And I think Derrick Henry now is the answer for Jackson, because teams, what do? They fall back. They make him want to throw the football. And if they drop everyone back, making him want to throw the football, if they can run it effectively with Derrick Henry, that's going to change everything. And you see the way that they're playing right now. But I don't know. I thought, I grew up hating John Elway. This is our second reference to Elway. When Elway got to the Super Bowl and was playing the Packers, and his age and everything he had gone through, because I hated him because he played for the Broncos, I also respected the hell out of him because he was, in my opinion, the best quarterback in the league. And he had gone through so much shit in those previous, 4 Super Bowls where they got hammered in every one of them. And you're thinking to yourself, man, I like this guy. I mean, I hate that he plays for the Broncos, but I like him as a player. I want to see him win one before he hangs it up. I was pulling for him that night when they beat Mike Holmgren and the Green Bay Packers. And, Jackson hasn't got to the Super Bowl, but I feel the same way there for Lamar Jackson. All right. That's it. Enough of me rambling. Let's wrap up the show, the Daily Puck Drop, with Hey, What the Puck. It's all brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle. They are your restoration company that lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated, kiddos. Make them your first call when damages affect your residential or commercial property. Give them a call, 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com. North Seattle franchise. All right, before I play this video of James Franklin, he is the Penn State head coach. Got to set this up. So he had 2 football players back in June, I believe. 2 football players back in June that were suspended from the football team. There's no reason really given why. And then all of a sudden, they get closer to the season, and now they're off the roster. They're off the depth chart. People are like, what's going on? They wouldn't address it. Turns out both under investigation for an alleged rape. 2 players with 2 different women on the same night. And so James Franklin has not addressed this at all. Refuses to answer any questions about it. And it leads us to yesterday's scene there in Happy Valley, where an associate, I think he's the associate AD, communications department, is telling everyone, hey, we are not going to answer any questions about these 2 players. Not going to happen. We've released a statement. That is our statement on this. If you have any questions about Wisconsin, happy to answer those questions. Okay? James Franklin is hiding behind the backdrop, listening to the associate AD read off this statement. And then James Franklin, and you'll hear it here, James Franklin then comes out from the curtain.
Department will have no further comment statement yesterday. in our program and athletic department will have no further comment. If you need the statement, please reach out to me or Chris.
Hey guys, any questions?
James, at what point in the summer were you aware that these guys were not going to be on the team?
Again, guys, the university already released a statement. If you need the statement, reach out to me or Chris. We'll have no further comment.
Are there questions about Wisconsin?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, so he later comes back and then answers questions about the Wisconsin Badgers. The reporter, she is from, I believe, The Athletic, who is right there, asked the question, and then he storms off again. He stormed off twice, by the way. Or walked, I shouldn't say stormed off. He walked off twice. Two parts here. One, I understand completely what Penn State is doing. From a PR, right? We talk about the PR crisis firm here, the Puckett crisis firm. I understand exactly what they're doing. Controlling the message. We don't need him out there to answer these questions. He slips up and says something that's incriminating or violates anything, puts them in a bad situation. It is the responsibility there of the PR department to not only protect James Franklin, but also to protect the university. Now it's a university that, has had their issues, right? This is a university that dealt with not this, but the whole Joe Paterno and Sandusky mess. They didn't handle it good then, and some would say they're not handling it good now. I would advise them to take a different tact. I think there would have been a way to get James Franklin out there and at least be the one to say, you can just prep him with the message. This is the message. This is what you say. You don't deviate off of it. I appreciate the question. This is now, in the matter of the law enforcement. I really wish I could say more and talk about it more. And, it's something that we here at Penn State, take very seriously. Allegations from players on our football team and assault on women. There's no place for that. But again, it's an ongoing investigation. I just can't, unfortunately, say anything. When the time is right, I will speak freely on it. Guys, I just, came up with that in 30 seconds. It's not that hard. By what he did, having the Associate AD come out there and do it, and then he walks off twice. I didn't play because there's an early part of the video because he comes out, someone's asked right away, and he walks off, and he did it again. So he's just hiding behind that curtain. And he comes back, and there has been like behind the scenes stories about James Franklin that he's not a great guy, he's not a good dude. There's ways to handle it. I understand from a PR perspective, you're trying to protect the school and him, and I get all that. But there is a way that he could be out there to handle it. He's paid handsomely. If you don't trust the guy, why are you paying him? James Franklin's probably making what? $6-7 million, $5-6-7 million. Get him out there. You got two players accused of rape. They're your players. Address it. I thought, again, I'm not trying to bring Washington into this situation. The way that Washington handled it with DeBoer, it wasn't good. There's different ways that you can handle these situations. And they could have done a better job. But the reporter there for The Athletic, I love what she did because it is not the responsibility of the media just because the PR person comes out there and says, hey, we're not going to address it. We're not going to answer any questions about this investigation. You don't. Okay, fine. But I can still ask it. You're not my boss. So I respect the hell out of her for just right away. She didn't hesitate one bit. You don't tell me what I can and cannot ask. And then you got that response. So we'll see how that storyline will shake out there in Happy Valley. All right, that's it for Hey What the Puck, brought to you by Restoration One in North Seattle. Your restoration company lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. By the way, if you click on that QR code, that's actually going to take you to Limback Lumber. It should take you to restoration1.com. But this idiot, sorry, Trent, forgot to change it. But restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. Tell them Puck sent you. They're going to take great care of you. All right, big thanks to Mike Garafolo for jumping on today. Again, Mike's episode will be up there separately, up on YouTube, also up on, if you want to watch it, on Apple and Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. And, of course, up at pucksports.com. This entire show will be up on YouTube like it always is. And then, of course, up on Apple, Spotify, and pucksports.com. I've gone an hour and 36 minutes. I forgot I let the dogs outside, and I can hear the dogs whining to come back in. You know, toughen up, you two labs. Spend some time outside. It's okay for you. But I can hear them whining. Let us in. We'll let you in a second. Again, thank you. Appreciate everybody watching and listening. If you've not downloaded the Puck Sports mobile app, please do it today. Android users, I'm a broken record. I'll read you the text from Jacob, the app guy. Okay, hold on. Where's it at? It's in the beta process. It's almost complete. Should be in the next 24 hours. It's coming. I promise. So Android users, Puck Sports mobile app will be up there shortly. But iOS users, please download the Puck Sports mobile app from the App Store, and you can listen to us on the move, on the phone, here on as you move around. Don't have to watch us here on YouTube and X and say, God, this guy does. Janikowski's right. Looks like he's living in a college dorm room. And he's right. And then, of course, Apple CarPlay there as well. All right, that's it. We'll see you tomorrow. It's Friday, TroyWins.com. Our handicapper is going to come on by to give us all his picks for the weekend. Jim Moore will be back. We'll get his picks for the weekend. Chris Egan from King 5 is stopping by. I have no idea where that conversation is going to go. We never do. But we love finding out where it goes. You guys are the best. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you tomorrow. As always, promise to be better.
No, die, so. Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah.
I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rob you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for?
We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!